It was a sad day in heaven when a 22-year-old preacher, James Sakara, couldn't recreate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Instead, he passed on after he was buried on the ground for 3 days. He was found dead after he was dug up as agreed by his fellow pastors. He convinced 3 church members to assist his resurrection attempt by helping dig a grave. Now, before he took his final rest, he quoted from the Bible and explained that Christ's instruction to his disciples is to do this in remembrance of me.
This is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me.
He clarified that Christ didn't only say this when sharing bread and wine, but it is also applicable for resurrection. So his 3 assistants obeyed, tied his hands and legs together, and in his white gown, he was buried alive for 3 days. So local reporters claim that when Sakara was dug out, his gown was covered in mucus and blood. This is an indication that he struggled to death. Imagine being tied up and buried. What a way. So the reason why his hands were tied in the first place was to convince his congregation that he wasn't going to escape the grave at night to catch his bread or go home for dinner. You know, how convincing can one be? If your church members saw you being buried with your hands and legs tied up, then it means you're really in for something, like you really mean business, you know, and you're really sure that you're coming back. He was prepared to resurrect like Christ, except that Christ wasn't buried in the ground with no air, neither were his hands tied together. So when the men returned to dig up the pastor as promised, they discovered his lifeless body and tried to resuscitate him. When that didn't work, they conducted spiritual rituals. When that failed, the police arrested one of the pastors while the others 2 fled. I mean, can you really blame them? The pastor left behind a young wife who was pregnant at the time this incident happened. Well, that's it for today's story. Thank you for watching Stories with Oluchi. I tell dark, strange and mysterious stories in Africa and beyond. Please subscribe to my channel and like my videos. Thank you.